What up, everybody? Back again here with our negative number unit. Today we're going to be talking about what is the difference. Let's dive under the water and see what our objective is today. Our objective today I will be able to understand the distance between two numbers is the absolute value of the difference. Let's take a look at what we mean. Before we dive into this, we want to take a look at this conceptually. So our question says, what is the difference between 10 and 6? So a lot of us have been taught that the difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. And that's actually correct, right? But what happens is we use this as a key word, and we might mark this as subtraction, and then to find it, we would just subtract and say our answer's 4. And that's also true. The answer is 4. But really what you're doing when you're finding the difference is you are looking for the distance between these two numbers on a number line. So here my number line is not quite long enough, so I need to add 9 and 10. Okay, there we go. Let me move this out of the way. And really what you're doing, here's 10 and here's 6. When you are finding the difference, you are trying to find the distance between the two numbers on a number line. So here it is 4, right? There's 4 units between these. Well, the reason we've always been able to get away with this and just subtract is because everything we've been doing so far is in the positives, right? We just learned about all these negative numbers. But what happens when we're trying to find the difference between -6 and 10? Or -10 and 6? Can we still do what we've always been doing and just subtract? Let's find out. So for our I do problem, it says, what is the difference between -8 and 9, right? So if I was just following what I've always been doing, I'd mark that with a subtraction sign. And I know that I'm just subtracting -8 minus 9. And when I solve that, I'm going to get the answer of -17. But what if I flip these? What if I did 9 minus -8, right? Well, I know I'd have to rewrite this as adding the opposite, and my answer would be 17. So if I do it one way, I get -17. If I do it the other way, I get +17. That's why we can no longer just subtract and come up with an answer when it's asking us for the difference. We need to understand that this is the distance between the two numbers. Yeah, it's still the answer to a subtraction problem, but really it's the distance between the two numbers on a number line. So here if I have -8, right, and I have 9, if I want to know the distance between these two, that is 17 units, right? There's 17 units between -8 and +9. Well, here I got -17, and here I got +17. What does that tell me? When I start hearing the words, the distance between things on a number line, I start thinking of absolute value, because absolute value is the distance between any number and 0, right? And you always write it in a positive. Even if it's back here in the negative, the absolute value of -15 is still 15 because it's 15 units away from 0. Well, when it's asking you to find the difference, it's asking you to find the distance. So really, it's kind of like finding the absolute value of the distance between these. You're always going to write it in a positive. Even though -8 minus 9 is -17, -17 and +17 still have the same absolute value. They're both 17 away from 0. So when you're finding the difference, you're actually finding the absolute value of the distance between the two numbers. Let's go back to our conceptual problem and take a closer look at it. So here we said the difference between 10 and 6 was 4. But if you flip these and do 6 minus 10, you're going to get an answer of -4. And again, the distance between them would still be 4. But you've always been doing the absolute value when you find the difference. Nobody ever told you that because you were dealing in positives, and so it didn't really matter, right? The absolute value is always positive, so nobody ever bothered to mention it. But now that you're getting into negative numbers, when you're finding the difference, you are subtracting, but you're finding the absolute value of that answer. This leads us to our key thought. We write the distance between two numbers as the absolute value of the difference. In other words, we're going to find the difference, we're going to find the answer to the subtraction problem, and then we're going to take the absolute value of that, and that's going to be your answer, which means your answer will always be written as a positive number because absolute value is always written as positive. Let's take a look at a we do problem. So here we want to know the difference between negative 15 and negative 4. Now for this you have to be careful because you're starting with negative 15 on this side, okay? Because that was the first number. I'm going to show you both ways though. And then the difference means you're subtracting, right? So you're going to be subtracting a negative, all right? Some people would just rush through that and just do minus 4, but that's not correct because you want to subtract a negative. So when you rewrite this, you're going to add the opposite. So the opposite of a negative would be a positive, right? The opposite of moving left on the number line would be moving right. And your answer is going to be negative 11. If you flip these and you do negative 4 minus, again, you're finding the difference, and this is still negative, so minus negative 15, you would rewrite that as negative 4 plus 15, and you'd have to cross over 0. So you'd break this apart into positive 4, which would give you 11. These cancel out, gets you to 0, and then you go the rest of the way, so your answer would be 11. One is negative 11, one is positive 11, but it doesn't matter because you're finding the absolute value of that. And so your answer to this question is negative 15 and negative 4 are 11 units apart on the number line. So here's a you-try problem. It says the temperature of the Villages, Florida today is 28 degrees Celsius. The temperature in New York City is negative 5 degrees Celsius. How much warmer is it in Florida? So this is a word problem, so we hope you'll do your sides check strategy. You can also draw a vertical number line if you need to, because we're doing temperature. Typically that's seen as vertical instead of horizontal, but it's going to be the same thought process. When you're done, go ahead and push play and check your work. So hopefully you just paused it and now you're checking your work to check your mastery. My statement's going to say it is blank degrees warmer in Florida. I know I'm going back and looking for anything about it being degrees or how warm it is. So Florida was 28, New York City was negative 5. I want to know how much warmer is it in Florida. In other words, what is the difference between the two temperatures? So as we just showed, it doesn't matter which one is your first number and which one is your second number because it's going to be the absolute value, but I'll go ahead and show both. So let's say you did 28 and you subtracted negative 5. Again, if you're doing the opposite of a negative, that'd be a positive. So we're going to be adding 5 here, and your answer is going to be 33 degrees. If you started with negative 5 and you subtracted 28, okay, well, I'm going to draw a number line just to make sure I'm doing it right. Here's 0. Here's negative 5, and then I'm moving to the left, okay, 28 units because I was subtracting, or you could even rewrite this as adding a negative. So if I'm moving left on my number line, that's going to take me to negative 33, okay? So either one, you could use a number line to help you. Both of them have the same absolute value, and so we're going to say it is 33 degrees warmer in Florida. So what we want you to take with you today is when you're finding the difference between two numbers, you're really finding the distance between them, right? So you're going to write the absolute value of the difference. Thank you so much for checking us out today. We really appreciate it. We hope you'll check out the rest of our negative number unit. Please leave a comment and subscribe. We'd love to have you join the Instructabeats family. Again, thank you so much. Instructabeats, out.